Of course. I mean, thank you, Gustavo, for the invitation to join your event. Congratulations on the publication of your report. Happy to listen to Anna and everything you said about developing a new textile ecosystem strategy. Let's say there's a lot that can be said, and I want to keep it short. I would like to emphasize that for me, the challenge of the Green Deal and developing this kind of competitive model is that it's not a discussion on ideology. It's not a discussion on whether we want this or not. It's a discussion on how you actually implement those principles to which I'm sure everybody agrees to. So I would like to focus very much on the governance, on how we can develop a business model that will make the Green Deal work for the TCLF, let's say, ecosystem. And again, there's a lot that one can say, but I just want to maybe highlight 3 or 4 points which to some extent coincide what Anna said before. The first point to insist is that achieving sustainability, circularity within our industry is complicated. And complicated means it requires to address a range of very different elements from a legislative perspective, from a logistic perspective, from an organizational perspective, from a behavior perspective. So we developed, as you know, Gustavo, last year already, a circular economy strategy of EURATEX. In that strategy, just to achieve circularity, we identified 12 action points. Each of those 12 needs to be implemented if we want to achieve circularity. So it's not a one-trick pony that will settle the thing. So it's complicated. It requires addressing different areas of intervention, different stakeholders, and therefore it requires coordination and coherence. And it's something in my relatively kind of young or fresh involvement in the industry, I want to insist on very much that we must think in a coherent way how to ensure that the different measures that we take, that different players take, go in the same direction. Secondly, I would like to emphasize, speaking from the private sector, yes, we want sustainability, we want this Green Deal, absolutely, but we need to develop a market where there is demand and supply for sustainable products. On the demand side, in our industry, we obviously have the consumers, and therefore we need to think carefully how to convince and how to help consumers to be more interested in sustainable products, for example. But we also have the government, the authorities, who are an important consumer, if you think of public procurement. So the whole debate about green public procurement. So we must make sure that there is a demand sufficiently important, sufficiently large for our industry to respond to. On the supply side, on our side, on the side of the industry, again, talking to entrepreneurs, talking to our board members, the issue is not about whether we agree on sustainability or not. No, the issue is how much will it cost and how can I turn this into a kind of long-term competitive model. So we need to look at the cost of sustainability. And we need to look at the long-term competitiveness. Is there a need for support? As Anna mentioned, and as I think you mentioned as well, Gustavo, the industry is very much dominated by small business with limited access to finance. So what are the means? Are there means out there to help small business to become more sustainable by certain financial support, for example? So we need to make sure that there is a demand and supply that creates growth opportunity for the industry. If it is perceived as a kind of a top-down, I would say almost ideological perspective, I'm not very optimistic. So we need to see what are the opportunities in the market context. Thirdly, talking about market context, of course, we need to put this whole effort, the Green Deal, circular economy, we need to put that whole effort in a global context. We all know to what extent our industry is part of a globalized sector. It's clear. We welcome that because it's a source of, again, competitiveness. Our exports are doing pretty well in the global market. But of course, there is the issue of level playing field and fair competition. And I think everybody knows what we're talking about. So there's no point in being the, I would say, the greenest student of the class if the rest of the class is not following. And again, I know also from the side of the Commission, from other stakeholders, we all agree on that. But so we must make sure that when we establish regulation, rules, procedures, limitations, for example, on chemical use, we must very carefully consider the global impact of those measures. That's critical. And maybe a final point among many other elements that one could address, and again, Anna referred to it as well. When moving forward, we need, or the industry, I would say, the sector needs support for sure. Resources, financial resources. The Next Generation EU program is coming, and yes, we need to think what can be done to help our SMEs to embrace sustainability, to have the necessary financial support in innovation to become sustainable on a competitive basis. So these are just some, let's say, initial or quick comments. Once again, from EURATEX perspective, we very much embrace the Green Deal, the move towards sustainability and circularity. But at the same time, we plead for, I would say, a reality check to make sure that what we decide in Brussels, between us in this kind of European bubble, is feasible, is realistic from the entrepreneur's perspective who is out there, who is indeed, again, Anna mentioned it, suffering very heavily from the Corona crisis. So we must make sure that what we decide, or what is being developed and decided in Brussels is effective and makes a positive impact. And for that, yes, we need this textile strategy, or this TCLF strategy, and we need I would, more than a strategy, I would call for an alliance where stakeholders can come together, where different perspectives can be brought together, and again, to make sure that whatever is being decided matches with reality and effectively gives a bright future for the industry. Thank you.